Hey guys, it's Jason here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the video. Today we get to check out my Kagama. Now, right beside me, and some of you have seen this because you've mentioned it in the videos, I had picked up a body. And what I was going to do is I was going to kind of do sort of a conversion to the Shogun or something like that, change it over to Kagama. But when I started realizing how many changes they did make to this truck, from the bracing, hinge pins, just lots of things, guys. Obviously the body, I decided to just get the truck. Now, I think I told you guys in another video where my truck had left, USPS had screwed up the delivery, screwed up everything. It got sent back to where I bought the truck from, and then they ended up shipping it UPS, and that only took about 4 or 5 days, and here it is. So what we're gonna be doing in this video is this. We're gonna unbox it, we're gonna check it out, and we're gonna compare some of the parts of this truck to my Kronos XTR. And I'll show you guys some of the stuff that has broke on this truck in the last few runs. They were not parts that broke because of a bad landing or anything like that. They broke because I guess you could say I was pushing its limits. I don't know. But either way, let's check out this truck. Now, obviously, I've been looking at the body for a few weeks, so there's no surprises there. But it does, guys, look really, really good. Now, even with all the changes and everything that this truck has, there's still similarities and still things that they've shared with other Corelli RCs in the past. These wheels and tires, guys, the rims themselves are off the Punisher and the Jambo, and the tires are off the Kronos. So there's nothing new there. They've just kind of changed up their rim tire setup, but that's about it. The body is completely new, and it does look really, really good. I like the colors. Kind of hard to tell right now inside. You can sort of see there's kind of a bit of a sparkle, like a pearl in this red, which is really, really cool. And I do like the shape of it. I like the front end. I always kind of like the Jambo. The Jambo had something like this kind of a front end with the skinny headlights and all that stuff. I always thought it looked kind of neat. But overall, guys, I do like the shape of the body. It's got your roof guards on top. I would have liked to have seen something like they have on the Asuga around the body post. So if we quickly go over here, I brought this up in my Asuga video. You have these mounts that are on the body. So you've got more for the body pin to kind of make contact with and less chance of everything pulling over. With the Kagama, you don't have that. You just have your usual body posts. You got your body pins. They do have the little angle in it and all that kind of stuff, but I would have liked to have seen something protecting that, just making the body kind of last a little bit longer. On that spare body that I have way over here, probably should have moved it closer, I did start Gorilla taping it and all that kind of stuff, especially around the body posts or the holes for the body and all that kind of stuff. So that's the one we'll be using when we start running this thing. Now, before we get right into the truck, I went with the roller. Now, the reason I went with the roller is more about the price. Obviously, you save quite a bit of money by going with the roller. And even though the Corelli electronics are great, and if you do get an RTR and you run it for a while and then you want to upgrade to a beefier ESC, bigger motor, stuff like that, you can always use that ESC and motor in another truck type thing, something maybe a little bit smaller, something that doesn't weigh as much. But for me, the fact that I could save a few bucks because I just bought the Asuga, I went with the roller. Now, at first glance, you know, things that stand out to me are obviously, guys, all this new rear bracing in the front sort of has almost like a sledge feel going on with the way it kind of ties in. Your new tower-to-tower brace, this is all different. I like what they did back here. We'll address that later, guys, but one of the parts that I broke on my Kronos XTR was this tower-to-tower brace, and the way it kind of mounted up here to the back. I broke the mount itself, so it looks like that should be fixed. You have this big foam block now on top. I like that because if you're coming down off a really bad jump or a landing, you're going to impact the body, and then you're going to impact this mount instead of having that gap where you kind of end up having your body cave in a little bit. So that's cool. You still have the composite links, which are a huge plus for me. In my Kronos XTR and other trucks that run steel links with the rod ends, I have broken those rod ends. These composite links have been amazing, and I've been using them and running them on Corelli vehicles since my version 2 Dementor. And it was funny because I still remember in that unboxing and when I first started running that truck, everybody liked to address the composite links. They kind of like to make fun of them. So the Arma guys and the Traxxas guys were like, oh my God, that's so cheap. Now, fast forward many years later, Traxxas now has them on the Sledge and other vehicles. So these are, guys, to me, in my opinion, proven, and I actually do prefer them. I've got the Lunsford titanium ones now on the Kronos XTR, but you still have that rod end issue type thing. So either way, guys, these work. It's a great idea. You have the spring steel outdrives everywhere. We had those on the Kronos XTR and we had them on the Skeeter. They work really, really well. Front and rear sway bars. You still have, unfortunately, this battery tray. I'm not a fan of this battery tray because this piece here breaks all the time. I've broken it now, I think 3 times. I'm gonna probably, before I start running this truck, or at least before I start running it hard, figure out something with a Velcro strap. I'm started laying Velcro in the battery tray to help it from shifting. And I think that's actually working. I didn't do it with the Isuga, and I've already broken this on the Isuga, so we'll be addressing that. The towers are still a 6061, so I don't know if I've mentioned that yet, guys. This truck is not considered their extreme truck. So Arrma has the EXB, Corelli had the XTR. That's what the Kronos XTR was. And it was a 7075 chassis, 7075 shock towers. I'm not sure about the Ackerman plate in this. It looks like the original. I've had issues with this before, so I did order some custom RC upgrades, titanium ones. I actually have 3 of them coming. So one for the Kagama, one for the Isuga, and one for my Kronos XTR. Now, one of the biggest changes with this truck is the bracing and all the center bracing and all that kind of fun stuff. Obviously, the tower to tower brace looks different. The way these braces right here go from the rear shock tower and tie into the chassis is completely different. They do come further this way as well. We're going to address why I'm saying that a little bit later in the video. The front is also a little bit different. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a sledge, not 100% or anything like that, because God forbid, but it does seem to, again, kind of resemble a little bit of the sledge setup, which works really, really well. So I can see why Corelli chose this. And in all fairness, since Corelli did the composite links and Traxxas copied them on that, hey, you know what? If Corelli wants to copy a bit of Traxxas' setup, let them. Now, back here, you can see how all this sort of ties in together. You don't have a rod in there or anything like that. It goes into this big mount right here, which is all solid and bolts down. Now, when you come over to the Kronos XTR, this is what broke. So this rear mount, obviously, guys, it's held in by a screw. It's kind of like a giant rod in, I guess you can say. That's what broke. And it broke not from a bad landing or a crazy crash or anything like that. It was a big jump. I don't even think you guys have seen that video yet. Hopefully, I'll be releasing it soon. I still got to make it, but it broke from a big jump. I had a half decent landing, all that kind of stuff. It just was that impact broke this. And it also, guys, broke one of the standoffs. And unfortunately, these standoffs, because they're a solid piece of steel, once they break, they're done. So I have ordered replacements for all this. I am going to look into probably some type of aftermarket replacement. We'll see what's out there. This truck is bare because all the battery tray, the ESC, the motor, and all that stuff, guys, went into the Isuga. This truck overall, and it's kind of, I think at the beginning of the video, I may have mentioned, if I had done this unboxing 2 or 3 weeks ago, besides from crashes, I had not really broke anything on this truck. But last run, I had some fun. And like I said, I was getting a little bit more air than usual. That's how those parts broke. So I guess I kind of took the truck to its limits sort of thing. So now if I wanted to send this thing at the same level I was in that video, we would have to start changing up some things. Obviously, guys, go into a better quality standoff, maybe something like an M2C, something like that. Saying that, my Shogun over here, this truck still hasn't broke, or at least as far as I can remember. 6061 chassis, 6061 shock, actually no, 6061 chassis and Basher Queen carbon fiber shock towers, carbon fiber brace as well. This thing has been just amazing. It has been an absolute awesome truck. I have no complaints at all with it. I keep running it. I do need a new body because this one is completely demolished. Now that you've seen the Kronos, you can see the difference with this one and how this is all kind of tied up. Now, hopefully I can get you guys in a little bit better. So you can see there's no rod in, it just goes in here. I'm guessing it probably clamps down on it, bolts in somehow into that rear shock tower, but I definitely like that setup. I think that's a big plus to the way they've done it. And the same, guys, with the front. The front now ties in again to this big kind of thick brace, goes into the front shock tower, ties into this brace right here that goes down to the chassis. That should, guys, provide some decent support. Corelli 6061 is a pretty high quality 6061. Now, for those that are thinking, okay, well, it has to be 7075, all that kind of stuff, there are different grades, as well as I think just depending on where it comes from, you will get a better quality 6061, let's say, over another company's 6061. I have bent other companies' 7075 where the chassis, guys, on my Shogun, and I'm not going to move it, but you can, I'll bring you down as much as I can, is still straight. And I have sent this truck a lot. This truck just seems to always keep holding up. So a lot of times when I'm going out to do a video on one truck, I always bring the Shogun because for some reason it's always ready, it's always running, and it's always just a lot of fun to drive. Now, the last thing, guys, I want to address is the motor and the motor position. So in the Kagama, the motor is sitting a little bit kind of not over these side guards. So I'm going to show you guys in a second, but in the Kronos XTR, the center of the mount was like right over the center of the guard. So you can see here, this is where the center of your motor would be. And it pretty much lined right up with this guard, so that you'd either have to, depending on the size of the can, you would either have to remove some of these and kind of Dremel the little baton down type thing, and then the motor would fit. Now, the one plus to this setup is, with the way the chassis supports are and all this kind of stuff, you had a nice big area to use. You almost have, I think it's around 4.5 inches, guys, from here all the way back to here. However, on the Kagama, you do not have that. From here to here is about 3.5 inches, and I think that's just a little over 88 millimeters, 88.6 or something like that. I think I did, I Googled it, because of the way these braces now come down. So on the Kronos, the chassis was kind of skinny, and that's where these braces came down to, and then it kind of fattened up. Where on the Kagama, the chassis is pretty much just thick all the way through, and then it just kind of skinnies up back here when you get into the differential and all that kind of fun stuff. But like I mentioned, because of this brace right here, you only have 3.5 inches. So I had initially ordered a 4292, I think was it? Yeah, it was a 4292 for this truck. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was doing some measuring for me, and we ended up finding out that that would not have fit. The 92 would not have fit. So I ended up going with a 4282. I think it's a 1780 kV. So just know that when if you're buying this truck and you're picking out a motor, that you got to watch your sizing, because like I said, you got about 3.5 inches from here to here, where on the Kronos XTR you had 4.5 inches, so you didn't have any issue at all with motor size. Now, I just remembered there was one last thing, guys, I wanted to quickly cover, and that is, if you were thinking about picking up a Kagama body for, let's say, your Kronos, your Shogun, or your Punisher, it does fit. However, the one thing that you need to know is, you can see right now these holes are pretty much lined up, but when you go to the back, the Kagama's got kind of this big sort of longer part of the body here, and these little kind of winglets sort of thing that go out. So you can see here on the Kronos, your body post stop right here, you only got about a 1/2 inch. This is where your rear shock tower would be. Over here, yeah, this big long piece has to come off. So it's just the way the body sits on the truck. You'd have to trim this off. I'm not sure about these. I had the body sitting on my Shogun, and like, again, these all lined up and everything was good. I just didn't actually have the back sitting in the body mounts. It was just sort of kind of sitting on top. So again, just something I wanted to let you guys know, because if you're thinking about picking up the Kagama body, there's just a little bit of minor trimmage you got to do. All right, guys, there you have it, the Corelli Kagama. Now this thing, guys, I'm pretty excited about. I'm looking forward to running it. The one thing I did not mention, and it dawned on me when I came over here right now, was just how firm the suspension feels on this truck. Now, I was kind of comparing it to the Kronos XTR. That truck now is a few years old, so things may have just worn out a little bit. But this thing does have some pretty good force, guys, to push it down. So I don't know if they changed the springs, if they changed some of the shock oils or not. I didn't bother looking. I'll figure things out when I get out and start jumping it and all that kind of fun stuff. But anyways, guys, that is it for the unboxing. If you like this video, give me a big thumbs up. Please subscribe. And yep, there are a few pics.